Hello everyone. My name is Jason Rutberg. I am National Deputy Director of USA 180 over Information and Technology. I said in the last video that it feels like if you look back at your life, you can see a pattern. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about that. The title of this video is called The Greatest Divider. And the reason it's called that is because we actually now believe that all of us are totally different. And that is the greatest divider. The belief that we're all alone. The belief that whatever struggles that we may face, no one else has faced them, and we're alone. When you struggle to find the truth for yourself, which is what that 10% of the population represents, that is awake and does see things and is active in a bigger worldview than just themselves, you find that you're not alone. But your whole life you may have felt alone. Talked about some of the things that divided us. I mean, one of the things is this whole Democrat-Republican idea, which is really both fascism, the way it's being put forward. I mean, the Democrat idea at its most fundamental core is service to others. The Republican idea is service to self. You need both. What we have is we have corporate welfare for the Republican idea and social welfare for the Democrat idea, which both equate to dependency on government, on business, but not dependency on yourself, not responsibility for yourself. Yet we now stand at a place in our lives where we find that the only way to alter what is occurring is to take a stand for ourselves. But so many people don't even know who they are. They know what they like to buy. They know what they've been told. They know how to live in a materialistic world. But if you took that away from them, they would go mad. Another group of people caught up in all kinds of false idols. And what do I mean by false idols? I'm not talking about this from any kind of biblical perspective. I'm finally beginning to understand in my own growth that a false idol is anything that you give yourself service to. For me it was video games. For me it was comic books and Transformers and Star Wars. You know, that I put my whole world into that world. But what I didn't realize is I took my world out of this world. I took my life, I took my energy, I took my ability to affect change, and I took it and put it into a fantasy space. And what disturbed me the most when I worked for Anderson Consulting was that one client I worked for basically said the goal was to create an, quote, entertainment bubble around people. So they don't, so we can fulfill their every need. through this entertainment bubble. Well, this was around the creation of the Warcraft, not so much Warcraft, World of Warcraft, that type of stuff. This idea that a person lives in this multi-online world, this multi-dimensional online world. MMORGs are what they're called. And what that does is that divorces the person from the world. Video games divorced me quite a far way from the world, but this divorces you even further. Because you do interact with people, you do affect change, you do slay the dragon, you do have all of your passion. None of it is taken from you. But it doesn't do a damn thing. Because the world goes to hell around you. And when you step out of that world, you may be the best damn programmer in the world because you understand patterns. But you step out of that world, you can't function socially. You can't have a sustainable family. You can't have a sustainable society. You can't do any of that. And then what you begin to find is that there's a bunch of people saying, everything's okay, everything's okay, everything's okay. But you cut open the cake and there are worms. It's a beautiful cake, but there are worms inside. So the greatest divider is that we do not believe that we are connected to each other. We do not believe that we are connected to the world around us. We do not believe that we are connected to a greater picture. Science will tell us that. Religion will tell us that. But we choose to ignore it. And I'm not talking about Newtonian billiard ball science, which has been completely expanded upon, which is what schools teach. I'm talking about real science. So the world that we live in that tells us that we are separate from everyone is a lie. And at that moment, you realize what selfishness really is, and there are two kinds. There is the kind of selfishness which is short-term, and there is the kind which is long-term. And damn it, it's in my long-term best interest to not allow the total destruction of everything I believe in. That's kind of the idealist. The idealist has to figure out how to fit into the world, and that's the pragmatist. But you've got those two extremes. Somewhere you have to meet in the middle to be effective. But if you look at what USA 180 has done, it has taken the information that is easily provable, easily accessible to you. All you have to do is look behind the people, physically behind the people you're endorsing. Look who's on their cabinet. Look who's on their staff. Find out they're on the same people's staff. They've been around forever. So we have to, at this point, take a stand, and it's the 10% of us that will get wiped out by the 90% of us. The 10% of us looking and actually seeing that there is a different world, that the world does not revolve around, McDonald's and fashion, is the people who will be the first to die. That's just the plain truth of it. So normally you can respect others, but the bottom line is now we have to start respecting ourselves. So join this campaign that USA 180 is doing. Get your activity in place. Spend your 2 hours of time. And let's turn this thing around. Because if we unite, 10% of us is a lot of people. And it's time to change this place. There's a lot wrong, and if we don't actually feel it anymore, that's the problem.